Nacho Loco by Gary Soto. One morning, Ignacio, Nacho, Carrillo's fifth grade teacher, Miss Wiggert, brought the book 50 Simple Things Kids Can Do to Save the Earth into class. She talked about recycling cans and bottles, repairing leaky faucets, planting trees, doing away with styrofoam, and snipping six-pack rings so birds wouldn't get their necks caught. Earth, after all, is our mother, Miss Wiggert said, and one of the bad boys in the back rows replied, "Yo, mama!" Miss Wiggert shushed the boy, a finger to her lips. She scanned the class, asking for quiet. Then she announced, "I'm a vegetarian. Do you know what a vegetarian is?" "It's when you don't like meat," said Desi, a fat boy whose chones could be seen when he ran. "It's when you just eat grass," Leticia said. "Not grass, Leticia, noodles," Robert corrected. Miss Wiggert smiled at these definitions. She said, "It's when you decide not to eat meat for the welfare of your body and the planet." "I ain't on welfare," Robert snickered. The class laughed, and Miss Wiggert frowned. She clapped the book closed and said that they would go on to math. As she stood up behind her desk, her stomach rumbled, making her sound very, very hungry. But Nacho had listened to what she said. He knew what a vegetarian was because his brother, Felipe, had gone to college and come back with ideas that would solve the world's problems. His brother had decided not to buy anything at department stores and dressed in clothes from the Salvation Army thrift store on Tulare Street. "You're supposed to be educated," his father grumbled at his oldest son. "¿Por qué te vistes en garras? Why are you dressed in rags?" "Mijo, what will your abuelita think?" his mother pleaded. His father and mother had worked hard to send their son to college, and now, to their minds, he looked like a bum. And Felipe was a vegetarian. Yes, Nacho knew what a vegetarian was, and at that moment, as he opened his math book and licked his pencil preparing to do division, he decided to become one. Miss Wiggert was right, he thought. We must save the planet in small ways. Nacho left the classroom a committed vegetarian, or at least determined to become one after he ate his lunch, which was weighed down with a thick bologna sandwich. He liked bologna, especially when his mom also packed corn chips in his lunch. He would open his sandwich and methodically place 9 corn chips to form a square, as if he were playing tic-tac-toe. Then he'd put it together, close his eyes, and take a big bite, the corn chips crunching in his ears. And that's what his mother had packed in a paper bag today, a bologna sandwich and corn chips, along with a box of juice and a plastic bag of carrot sticks. Nacho looked at the carrot sticks and put them aside. Then he went to town on the sandwich. Nacho ate with his friend Juan on a bench outside the cafeteria. Juan was one of the best baseball players at school, and he could shoot, hoop, fight, and keep up with the smartest girls in a spelling bee. He was everything Nacho was not. Nacho was a dreamer, quick to pick up on the most recent scientific fad. Once he read in the grab bag section of the newspaper that if you place a dull razor blade under a pyramid structure and point it south, the pyramid's energy will restore the sharpness of the blade. He tried it with his father's old blades and wrapped them up as a Christmas present. Unfortunately, the blades remained dull, and his poor father had ended up with nicks from his throat to his upper lip. "I'm not eating meat after this," Nacho said. "It's bad for the world." "What are you talking about?" Juan said. His cheeks were fat with bites from a tuna sandwich. "I'm a vegetarian." "A what?" A vegetarian. I'm a person who thinks of mankind. I won't eat meat anymore. Nacho bit into his juicy bologna sandwich, savoring the taste, eyes closed. But you're eating meat now, ain't you? Juan asked. This is the last time, Nacho said, wiping his mouth on the paper bag. His mother had forgotten to pack him a napkin. That's weird, Juan said. Won't you get sick if you don't eat meat? Miss Wigert is a vegetarian, Nacho commented. She's already grown, Juan said. Anyways, I like hamburgers. Miss Nacho sat in his mind's eye a hamburger wrapped in a greasy wrapper and finger-sized French fries steaming on a white plate. He shook the images off and eyed his carrot sticks. He took one out from the sandwich bag and held it in his lip like a cigarette. And I don't smoke either, he said, laughing. After lunch, they played baseball, but their game ended when Juan hit the ball onto the roof of a building. Nacho had batted only once, hitting a feeble grounder back to the pitcher. After school, Nacho and Juan walked home together. Both of them were hungry, so that they stopped at the corner grocery store. Juan scraped up enough money in the corner of his pockets to buy a Hostess cupcake. Nacho bought a package of beef jerky, using the money he used from recycling aluminum cans on Saturday. I thought you were a vegetarian, Juan said as they left the store. He tore off the Hostess cupcakes wrapper and threw it absent-mindedly on the ground. Nacho's mouth fell open in shock. He stopped in his tracks and confessed, I am, but I forgot. He looked at the beef jerky. The little chunks reminded him of scabs. But since he had already paid for the beef jerky, he reasoned that it was worse to throw away food than to eat it. He was sure vegetarians would never throw anything away. They would always eat everything on their plates or, in this case, in their packages. One cellophane scuttled in a light breeze, and Nacho picked it up. I'll trade you then, Juan said. Nacho bit his lip because at the moment he preferred salt to sugar. Reluctantly, he handed over his beef jerky. He took Juan's cupcake and stuffed it in his mouth. Its chewy sweetness dissolved in 3 bites. For the rest of the walk home, he had to watch Juan tear off pieces of jerky and chew slowly, the smoky juice dripping from his mouth. Nacho's mother was in the kitchen when he arrived home. The radio was tuned in to Mexican news. A bus had gone off a cliff in Monterrey. Hi, Mom, he greeted her, throwing his books on the kitchen table. How was your day, mi hombrecito? She asked. She looked up from whacking a round steak with her favorite black-handled kitchen knife. Nacho looked at the round steak, then at the puddle of blood leaking from the meat and announced, Mom, I'm a vegetarian. ¿Qué? She asked. She turned over the steak and started pounding the other side. I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat meat anymore. His mother stopped pounding the steak and wiped her brow with the back of her hand. Son, don't tell me you're like Felipe. Mom, meat is bad for you. Meat is good for you. It'll make you más fuerte. She made a muscle in her right upper arm. Scientists have done studies, Mom. They say our teeth are supposed to eat only vegetables. Ay, Dios, where did we go wrong? She cried, her chopping hands waving the kitchen knife. Mom, it's for the welfare of our bodies and mankind. Estás chiflado, just like your brother, she groaned. And you didn't even go to college. She pounded the steak furiously and mumbled under her breath that when she had been a girl in Mexico, she'd been lucky to eat meat. At the start of a lecture about the old days in Michoacán, when his mother had been the daughter of a poor florist and weakened harpist who plucked his life away at a restaurant. Nacho tiptoed out of the kitchen. He went to his bedroom, which he shared with his little brother, Isaac. Isaac was watching TV on a small black and white set they'd gotten from an uncle who needed $10 for gas. "TV's bad for you," Nacho said. Isaac took his eyes off the television for a second and said, "So?" "I'm just saying, it's bad. Go ahead and do what you want. I'm a vegetarian." But the television caught Nacho's attention. There was a Burger King commercial of a guy jamming a double patty into a hungry grin. Nacho's mouth began to water. He went outside and played slap ball against the garage door. But each time he missed, or the ball ricocheted away from him, he would run past an old cardboard pizza box that had been left on the redwood table under the patio. Nacho remembered that pizza. His father had been promoted to foreman at Valley Irrigation. He and Nacho's mother had gone out to celebrate with their compa and brought back spicy pepperoni pizza for the kids. Nacho played slapball until his father came home, and then the two of them shot hoop. They played a quick game to 12, 1 point per basket. His father was big around the middle, but a sweet outside shooter. "You're just a little piojo, but you'll grow," his father said, wiping his face with the sleeve of his work shirt. He sat on the back steps. His chest was heaving, and the lines on his throat glistened with sweat. "Dad," Nacho said, "I think I might be a vegetarian." "¿Qué dices?" his father asked, his face still. Today, we had a talk about the world. Miss Wiggert said eating meat is bad for you. So, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat meat anymore. ¿Qué hacen a mi familia? First your brother and now you? His father got up and turned on the garden hose. He drank long and hard from it. He patted his belly and then agreed, "Okay, you be a vegetarian." "Vegetarian," Nacho said. "Yes, but you'll be such a flaco, we won't know where you are," he said playfully. "Not like this." He smacked his belly and laughed. His father went inside, leaving Nacho on the back steps staring at the empty pizza box. When he finally went inside, his older brother, Felipe, was in the kitchen, luring a piece of carne asada, marinated round steak, into his mouth. "Hey, Felipe," Nacho said, his stomach suddenly grumbling from emptiness. "Hey, you little Nacho head," Felipe said to his brother, "give me 5. They slapped each other's hands. Then Nacho said, "I thought you were a vegetarian." "Not anymore. My girlfriend left me." "What?" "Yeah, she moved on to greener pastures. A lawyer. I guess she doesn't like accountants." "You mean you were a vegetarian because of your girlfriend?" Nacho was shocked. He turned on the faucet in the kitchen and washed his hands. "Sorta, but I have a new girlfriend. She likes good food and bad movies." "But I thought you had principles." "I do, but I got a new girlfriend." Nacho felt cheated. He wanted to tell Felipe that he had become a vegetarian, but he kept quiet. From the dining room, their father called, "Hombres, let's eat." "Chow time," Felipe said. Felipe sat down, a napkin crushed in one hand and a fork shining in the other. After a prayer of thanks, during which he kept his eyes open, looking at the meat, Felipe dove into the carne asada. He ate like a barbarian, ripping a tortilla and pinching up smudges of frijoles. "See, if you were living at home, you would be eating good," his mother said as she passed him another tortilla from the basket. "Claro," he said. Nacho sat in front of his plate of rice and beans. He took a forkful of beans, eyeing his brother's plate, which was loaded with steaming meat. He looked at his little brother's face, his mother's face, and his father's dark and stubbled face. They were all enjoying meat. They were barbarian meat eaters. Later, Nacho helped do the dishes. He rinsed while his mother washed, and he kept turning around and looking at the stove. The pan of meat still rested on one of the burners. His mouth watered. After the dishes were done, the family sat and watched a sitcom on television. Nacho didn't care about the program, except when one of the actors lifted a fork or wiped his mouth on a cloth napkin. But he zeroed in on the Denny's commercial and its parade of fried chicken, burgers, club sandwiches, bacon, and eggs, and milkshakes. While they watched television, Nacho's father told his son Felipe that he was proud of him. "You went all the way," he said. "In a few years, it will be Nacho's turn." Already, he had big ideas like being ¿Cómo? A vegetarian, Nacho's mother said. She had changed the channel to Las Noticias, the evening news. "Yes, a human who doesn't eat meat," his father said. "How he will grow? No sé." "That's cool," Felipe said to Nacho. "Start young. What grade are you in?" "Fifth," Nacho said, staring at a commercial for Pioneer Chicken. "Yeah, go to state. I'll tell you about financial aid. Yes, ask about money." "This old burro won't last," his father said, pointing to himself and braying like a donkey. "Ask your teacher también." Nacho heard some of their chatter, but his eyes were locked on the screen. A bucket of chicken was being devoured by a family of 5, just like their family. Nacho's mouth flooded with the waters of hunger, and he had to leave the living room to eat a cracker. Nacho went to bed hungry, but determined not to ruin the planet. He lay awake thinking about food, and when he closed his eyes, he saw a floating chicken drumstick. But as he moved toward sleep, he told himself that he should get serious. The next day, he was going to ask Miss Wiggert about college, financial aid, majors, and easy courses. And in privacy, away from Juan and the others, he was going to ask point blank, "How can you live without meat?"